Hey guys, from Kentucky Range Time, back with another episode of our equipment installation and review segments. And today we're looking at the Viridian RFX1 Custom for the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, chambered in 380 auto. And I've previously done an RFX1 Custom install on the Ruger LCP Max. And today, once again, Viridian has sent us this sight to install on the Bodyguard 2.0 and to do the installation and to do a range test with this. So I'm going to be doing the installation of this, and the wife will be doing the range review. I may be with her, and we may do a collaboration on that, but she will be doing the bulk of the range review on this one, and I'm sure I'll probably have some thoughts on it later too. So watch. Keep an eye out for that video as well. It'll be coming up here in several weeks after the weather clears and the ice and the snow melt off, and we can actually get out to the range, which is impossible right now. I can get to a place to shoot, but I won't be able to recover my brass, and we definitely can't get up to the range where we normally do our filming. So that's going to have to wait a few weeks. So let's turn around and get started on this. All right, guys, and one other thing I want to mention is dot optics, especially green dots, are a type of visual accommodation. I mean, people who have no visual issues use these, but there's also a whole group of people out there like me who have reached a point in their life where they need some visual accommodations in the sighting systems on their handguns and rifles. And mine is that the lenses in my eyes have hardened, and I can't literally, the muscles in my eyes can't squeeze the lenses down enough to focus on items that are close at handgun distances, and that's not required to see this green dot. So you know, people who I'm farsighted. My distance vision is still 20/20, but when you get me within 4 or 5 feet, things start getting extremely blurry. And so in effect, this is a visual accommodation for me. Otherwise, I mean, I could almost be classified as a handicapped shooter if I had to shoot just iron sights like most guns have on them. So replacing the iron sights on these factory guns with these sights, it doesn't increase the capabilities of the firearm. It brings me back to being able to shoot that firearm in a way that I was capable of shooting it 20 years ago before my eyes started having issues. So that's another point to remember as you guys are aging, getting to the point that I am, or already past the point that I am. These make a world of difference in being able to pick up your sight picture and get off nice, accurate, aimed fire. And before we turn around, if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button, and feel free to share out this video content to any of your friends or in your social media groups that you like. There will be links for this in the description of the video, this and some of the other tools that I'll be using. So if you get a chance, go check those out. And anything that you purchase using the links provided will generate a small commission to the page, and that's the commission that comes back in and helps offset the cost of the testing, the ammunition, and the reloading, and all the other stuff that we do. And we do appreciate Viridian sending these in. This is a sample donated by Viridian, so but I tend to be pretty fair and straight up with my reviews, regardless if I'm buying the products or if they're sending them in and I have no cost in them. So that's one thing you can count on. If you go back and watch the other RFX1 custom video, you'll see that there was an issue there that I actually called out during the video, partially to make sure that Viridian does their job in coming back and correcting that stuff. So all right, guys, nothing wrong with having something going on with your product, as long as you come back and fix it and don't let it continue. So, all right, let's get going. All right, so here's our Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, and we have no loaded mags on the bench, and we have the chamber flag installed, and we will show this thing clear. And here in a minute, I will be removing the slide on this. And then here is our RFX1 Custom from Smith & Wesson. And guys, if I'm coughing and hacking through this, forgive me for that. I had a cold back in December around Christmas. I had the flu, and my respiratory system is still not fully recovered from that. And even a full month later, and plus some. So you know, as I talk and everything, sometimes it catches up with me. So RFX1 custom for the Smith Wesson Bodyguard. Now, like I said, Viridian makes several different models of this RFX1 custom. So if you go to purchase one of these, make sure it's the RFX1 custom for the gun that you're wanting to put it on. So these typically are the sight that replaces the rear fixed sight in their mounting footprint instead of having a plate to adapt to, and that's why they're custom. This will only fit the Bodyguard 2.0, so be sure that you get the right one. Real quick, 3 MOA green dot custom footprint for Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, instant on with auto shut off, ambient light sensor with automatic brightness control, and guys, with the instant on and auto shut off, this thing has a 30,000 plus hour battery life. So once you mount this on here and you get it running, you know, for most people, 30,000 hours is a long time. So, you know, it's not like you're going to have to take this sight loose, you know, every couple of years to change the batteries out in these. 30,000 hours is a significant run time. And there we go. Finally got it moving here. So first time I've opened this box up, literally just cut the tape off this. So this nice little case pocket knife here. This is a gift from a friend several years ago, and it's had a lot of mileage on it. And I carry this a lot when I'm wearing not pants that can't take a big knife. So the cleaning cloth, WR Case is also one of our affiliate partners. So if you go to the affiliate website and scroll down, there's an entire category there for knives, and you'll find WR Case in there. And so we got the decal here, we got an instruction sheet, there's a QR code for the full owner's manual, and I think in an installation video, which you're probably not going to need. I'm going to show you how to do that. And then here is the battery. So we'll get that cut open in a minute. Here is the mounting plate that goes into the dovetail on the slide and the screws. And here is the Optic. And there is the Allen wrenches to run those screws with. And that's pretty much everything in the box, guys. So we'll get this over here out of the way. All right, and here is a good look at the sight on this. So this is not an enclosed emitter. So the emitter lays back here, and your projection lens is up here on the front, just like on the LCP Max. And again, this is open on the bottom, and the battery drops into here, and then the top of the slide actually comes up against this and forms the bottom of this right here. So, you know, that actually is what holds the battery in place. And there was an issue on the LCP Max where the battery could move a little bit down here. There was enough of a amount of play there that would allow the battery to disconnect and shut the sight off. And the remedy for that was putting a little small piece of black electrical tape underneath the battery to provide a shim. That way when you tighten this down, it made sure the battery couldn't work itself loose. So I probably will go ahead and do that with this sight just as a precaution, and we'll see what goes from there. All right, so we've got everything unpacked here now, and let's go ahead and move this up here out of the way. There's our wrenches, and now, and again, we are empty. We're going to remove the slide from this. I'm going to start by locking it back, throwing the takedown lever, dropping the slide, pulling the trigger, and sliding that right on off. Move the spring and the barrel, and now we're ready to grab the sight pusher and get this thing mounted up in the sight pusher. The sight pusher I have is it's a universal, and it's a little bit cumbersome, so I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted in the sight pusher off camera and have it ready to go. All right, guys, so we've got the slide mounted up in the sight pusher, and this is what I was talking about. So this is the bar that actually pushes the sights off and on, and we want to we chose the angled side versus the square side. And if you're doing something like a front sight post where this actually has a right angle in here, then you would use the right angle side of that pusher versus the angled side. A lot of your rear sights use the angled part of this. And there's a screw here and a screw there and 2 screws in the bottom that all center and line this thing up in the right spot. And of course the slide is thinner than this, so I have a wood block in here. That's something I actually had to make when I did the LCP Max install. And this thing is all installed and tightened up in here really good. You just want to be careful getting this in and out of the sight pusher, because you don't want to scratch up the slide. I mean, it still happens sometimes, and you know, it's okay if it's your gun, but if you're doing one for a friend or somebody else, you don't want to do that. So at this point, literally, you just start turning this bolt and it will push this on across, and it'll take that sight right through the dovetail and drop it out here on the other side. And yes, I had a question on the LCP Max the other day. You can reinstall these sights, so you can always remove this green dot optic and put these sights back in here. Okay, so this is wanting to bind up in an angle here a little bit. You can see that moving there, which means I need to find my wrench here, and I need to tighten this up here more. Doesn't appear to be binding on anything. A big part of the push on this is at the front end of the slide versus the back. So the way the sight is so long, that may be influencing that a little bit. All right, let me reset this wood block. So I've actually moved the slide to the far side of here, hoping that it pushing against this side will help steady it up. There's no square edges on this on the sides. The only flat surface is on the top, and it makes it a little bit difficult to get locked in here. So let's try this again now. All right, guys, so I've moved back over here to the vise to finish up this video, and I do have the sight off already. And what I ended up doing off camera was locking this thing down in the vise and using a hammer and a pin punch to tap this sight loose. What was happening with the sight pusher was the sight pusher was pushing on this part back here, with the dovetail being up in this area. And what happened was it was just putting it in a bind. It literally was pushing it into a bind and actually was tightening it up. So once I got this thing locked down in the vise, got a couple of pieces of rubber here, and I just took literally I took a pin punch and a hammer and just slowly tapped it, and it came right on out. So not a big issue at all. Once I realized the sight pusher wasn't going to work, this is kind of the old school way of doing it. And one note, the plate here for the striker is actually held in by this sight as well. So that's something to note. There's nothing spring loaded here. When you push the sight out, nothing comes popping up or flying out or anything. So no concern there, but you know, just something to be aware of. If you do want to take the striker off later on, you are going to have to remove the sight to do that with. So again, I want to test fit this right here and make sure that everything's going to line up right, that none of the rubber here is in the way. It's going to hold it. And the sight is lower here on the back side, and it is dropping down past the rubber, but it is dropping past the rubber, so that's not going to affect anything. So the next thing is going to be to put the battery in here. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to put a little piece of electrical tape right on the back of the battery, just because it's going to stick to the battery better than it's going to stick to the uneven texturing on this slide right here. And then I'm going to put the battery down in the sight. and we are going to confirm that it is on. There is our dot. And I'm sure I'm not going to be able to get it to focus on that. So what was happening with the RFX1 on the Ruger LCP Max was there was a little bit of a gap right here that was allowing the battery to wiggle free and disconnect. So that's what I'm going to try to get ahead of the game, and if that issue exists with this model of the sight, I don't know that it does, but it's easy enough to put that piece of tape in there now and not have to worry about it later. So, okay, so the sight is set in here. The green dot is on. And now we've got 2 screws to go in. All right. So right now, I'll just kind of snug those in there. I'm going to come down here and look and make sure that everything looks like it's centered. The body of this sight is made to wrap over the sides of the slide and meet the angles on the slide here. So it should pretty well self-center itself. As you start to gently snug this down, it'll move itself back and forth and kind of go where it needs to go. And so that's got it snugged down, and now the last thing we got to do is get my torque wrench out and torque these down, and we can do that back over on the bench. All right, so we've got the sight is loosely mounted to the slide here, and kind of take a look at this. So the next thing to do is to torque these down, and go into the booklet here, right here, slowly tighten the securing screws holding the optic in place. Be careful to keep the sight straight up on the slide and progressively torque screws to 15 to 20 inch-pounds. So we're looking for 15 to 20 inch-pounds on this. And I am going to break open my fix-it sticks, because I have a torquing adapter in here that will allow me to torque to 15 to 20 inch-pounds. So that is the correct size Torx driver right there. And this kit is wonderful, guys. I use this all the time. So I'm going to progressively tighten these up to, there's about 7.5. 7.5. Come back over here and we'll hit about halfway between 7.5 and 15. And go to 15 this time. All right, guys, so there's 15 inch-pounds on this thing. I'm pretty satisfied with 15. Like I said, I don't want to take a chance on breaking one of these screws off or stripping that plate out. And sometimes 20 just feels like it's a little bit too much. So there it is, guys. That is the RFX1 custom installed on Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. And of course the fix-it sticks. They're wonderful. There will be a link to the fix-it sticks in the description of the video, along with the RFX1 custom. So let's get this thing reassembled. And croil, guys, don't forget the croil here. This is the original. It even says so right here. Formerly Aero Croil. I have been using this ever since I started working construction 35 years ago. The powerhouses used to keep this, and if you had Penetrox and WD-40 and Croil sitting on the shelf this is the one that I would always grab, because this, whether it was brass or steel or aluminum, whatever you ran into that had seized and needed some penetrant or some water removed out of something, this was the thing to do it. Probably the best penetrant that I've ever used. It also works really good for carbon cleaning. I actually use this in cleaning a lot of my firearms, and especially wiping them down. So love the coil. All right. The spring's got to be lined up pretty close. Okay. All right, guys. There it is. And there it is. 3 MOA green dot. And there's our factory tritium sight, XS big dot looks like. All right, Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 Viridian RFX1 custom for the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0. This is a 380 auto chambering in this pistol, and this is the model with the extended ported barrel. So Miss KRT, Miss Kentucky Range Time, will actually be out on the range shooting this in an upcoming video. And of course, I'll be there with her. She might let me shoot it too. We'll have to wait and see. But this is her gun. So, all right, guys. And once again, we are free and clear. This gun is safe, and it's still fairly new, so its controls are really stiff on it. But this is the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 in 380 ACP, and this is the Viridian RFX1 custom for the Smith Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, and this is how you install it. So getting the rear sight out was quite a bit more involved than it was with the LCP Max, but that's just what you run into when you start tinkering with these guns and you start working on them. So always be ready for the unexpected and have a plan B, and sometimes a plan C and D, and sometimes maybe even an E. But so I come in here thinking I would just be able to put the sight pusher on that and send it right off, and that was not the case. So I had to shift gears there a little bit. And like I said, I ended up taking a pin punch and a hammer and just gently tapping that thing, and it came right on out of there. Not a big deal at all, whereas the sight pusher was binding it up and actually was actually making it bite in harder and making it even harder to push. So keep that in mind. It's not hard to get this rear sight off. You're just going to have to lock it down in a vise. So that's it. Next time you see this, it'll be on the range, and eventually this is one of the guns that will be included in my 380 auto gel block test series. So we I've put together a decent little collection of 380s now. Barrel lengths are varied, but are all within probably 2 inches of each other. It's hard to find a longer barreled 380 auto. So I'll have 2, maybe 3 different barrel lengths across 3 or 4 different guns in 380. But eventually, and this is a little bit farther down the road, I want to get a lot of these other gel blocks bullets tested in these other calibers before I start dropping down to like the 9mm and the 380 auto. But I've got several nice bullets back here to test in 9mm and 380. I've got a lot of the Lehigh Defense all coppers, some of the lightweights. I think I even got like a 63 grain bullet over there that's going to be smoking. It'll even be smoking out of a 380 that will eventually be testing in the gel block. So hit that like and subscribe button. That's going to be a ways down, and there'll be a lot of ground to cover in between then. So I am back. This is one of the second or third videos I've actually recorded since I got out of my self-imposed Facebook or YouTube jail. I'm used to Facebook putting me in jail. But I had got 2 strikes on the channel, and instead of taking a chance on getting that 3rd strike and losing the channel, I decided not to post any gun-related content for the 90 days that it took for those strikes to drop away, and those are all gone now. I have 0 strikes. I have one little warning laying out there that for some reason YouTube hasn't removed, and it actually happened before the 2 strikes. And I had deleted that video, but they're still showing me like I need to do something with it, even though it's no longer even on YouTube server. Who knows? I quit trying to guess about these guys a long time ago. But anyway, keep in mind links to a lot of this stuff, the site, the Fix-It Sticks, that's all gonna be in the description of the video. There's an information tab up here that'll take you, it'll have a drop-down link that'll take you to my website. And that's where all my affiliate partners are listed. And there's nothing for sale on my website at all. It's just a consolidated location where you can scroll through and look at all of my affiliate partners. There's all kinds of vendors there selling everything from shoes to socks to pocket knives to first aid and safety and gear and accessories and tactical accessories and you name it, guys. Anything for the outdoors or hunting is available there from one of my affiliate partners. And you know, take a few minutes to look through there. We've redid the web page. We've got 20 some tabs set up, so you can actually click the tab. You know, that'll take you to the vendors who sell the items that you're interested in. So go check those out. And we're still working on the web page. Myself and my wife, we're still learning how to edit in WordPress, and there's a lot more that we're wanting to do with the web page. A lot of specials and maybe weekly deals and stuff like that that we want to highlight over on the sides. And so we are still working on that, but it takes time, guys. And this has grown really quick, and we honestly become overwhelmed. And you know, I was thinking about this being more of a retirement job, but I'm not retired yet, so it takes a little bit of time to work through all this stuff. All right, guys, stay tuned. Miss KRT actually has started a small page, and so if you want to go check that out, there's a link, and if you go to my page, you'll probably see a couple of videos that she's done a couple of collaborations with me already, and you can click those and go watch that. And if you get a chance and you want to support her page, give her a follow and watch some of her videos and give her some thumbs up and give her some watch time on there if you can. She has a SIG Tread M400 Rose Edition that she got for Christmas. She's got a couple of videos doing some basic function tests on that. She's got a range day where she goes and sights in her own Optic and everything, and then comes back and has got another video breaking it down and cleaning it and everything. I'm kind of assisting a little bit, kind of showing her and guiding her as she goes, but she's doing most of it on her own. She said she wanted to learn how to do all this, and so I'm willing to teach her, because eventually I may not have to clean all of our guns anymore like I have for 20 years. So anyway, go check that out, guys. And Matt from Kentucky Range Time, as always, thanks for watching.